only 5% use AI in ways that change their job. That is the headline today. I am, as per usual, Johannes Sundlo, and you're watching this on either a Monday, late Monday, or Tuesday, because I don't know if I will get it out there because, life has happened. I usually do these updates on Friday or Saturdays, but life is what it is. But that said, let's jump over to last week's articles that I thought would be worth interacting with. And if you're new to this podcast, or if you're new to this YouTube channel, or if you're new to my LinkedIn profile as well, because I publish on all platforms, I'm Johannes Sundlo. I help organizations understand how to use AI in an effective way within an organization. I'm not a technical expert. I'm an organizational expert. I help organizations adapt their ways of working into this whole new world of AI. But that said, let's start with an article from Ernst & Young. And EY has released its new Work Reimagined Survey. It covers more than 15,000 employees and 1,500 employers in 29 countries. And the top line message, 88% of employees say that they already use AI at work. It's an insane number, I know that. But mostly for simple tasks like searching and summarizing. And only about 5% say that they're using AI in more advanced ways that actually change how work is designed. And EY estimates that organizations could unlock up to 40% more productivity if they combine AI investments with stronger talent, culture, and learning strategies. Yet only 12% in this survey of employees feel that they receive enough AI training. And only a minority of companies are on track to reach what EY calls a talent advantage, where people and technology are aligned. And I see the same thing as well. And a lot of AI adoption is shallow. And people tick the box by using AI for search or copy tweaks, but core workflows, roles, and skills, they just stay the same. And the real gap is not the tools. You've heard me say that over and over again. It's job design, training, and clear intent. For us in HR, this means stop measuring AI success by number of licenses and start measuring how roles, skills, performance, and workloads change. If you listen to me in the past, you know that I've been saying this over and over again. So once again, this further reinstates the whole sentiment that I have as well around how to do AI adoption. It's not about the tooling, it's about everything else surrounding the tooling. That is the Ernst & Young story of this week, and I strongly suggest go into Full Stack HR, read the full piece, I mean the full Ernst & Young piece here as well, or EY, I don't know, are they calling themselves EY or Ernst & Young? But read the full EY survey here. I strongly suggest it. It's full of nudges and insights, and once again, if you aggregate it to a larger level, I think there's some good pieces in there as well. And one more survey, absolutely one more survey. And PwC's new Global Workforce Hopes and Fears survey is based on almost 50,000 workers in 48 economies. And it finds that 54% have used AI in their job at least once in the last year, but only 14% use generative AI at work every day. And I mean, this is vastly different than the EY survey that I just mentioned, but I'll get into that shortly as well. Daily users, they look vastly different than everyone else. And they are much more likely to report that in the last year, their productivity has improved. And their job feels more secure, and their salary as well has increased. So we have that. We see that people using it, they pull further ahead. But at the same time, only about half of non-managers say they have the learning and development support they need, compared with around 2/3 of managers and more than 70% of senior executives. And to some extent, that makes sense to me, because once again, if we don't start with the managers, if we don't start with the senior executives, how would they then lead in all of this? So that could be the explanation of all of this. I'm not saying it is, but it could be one of the explanations for this. I think it's so interesting that we get two studies the same week with vastly different results. But my 2 cents here is that they look at this from totally different angles. And EY, they focus on structures, culture, tools, and skills, and why some companies get real ROI from AI. And they also looked on our saved capability gaps and the tension that appears when AI hits the workplace. It's very much how do we build a system so AI actually works, while the PwC study, they focus on the people. They look at how workers feel, what motivates them, what they fear, and whether they trust their leaders or not. And I think that explains some of the differences, not all, And I'm a bit surprised by the large difference in daily use here, for example. It's vastly different if you compare the two studies. That says something as well about the whole study landscape right now, because even though they might point you in one direction, it's very much down to the methodology behind the service and who do they ask this, for example. I think the PwC study has a much broader set of people joining in to take the survey versus the EY one. So it all depends on who you ask and how you ask as well, which is always good to have back in mind. But still interesting to see, but they still point in the same direction. It's not about the tech, it's about the people behind the tech as well. Super interesting that we get two studies, not saying that they're totally alike, PwC and Ernst & Young, but they're in similar fields, I would say at least. But the PwC study also tells us that the people with access to AI and psychological safety to use it, and also good learning supports, are getting compounding advantages in skills, in output, in pay, but everyone else falls behind. And once again, here's a strong learning that I think we should do. We should, once again, offer access to AI. That's the first step. We should also make sure it's safe to use it and you have support to use it as well. Good learning nugget there. And also, if we leave AI upskilling to early adopters and senior leaders, the gap will widen fast. And I talked about that last week as well. I think it's our responsibility to make sure that we don't have these wide gaps within our organizations. So the priority is to design inclusive AI capability programs, especially for frontline workers and non-managerial workers, and link those programs back to clear career paths and not just one-off trainings. And this is not me saying it, this is the PwC concluding that in their study. And this is not a study, but it's a thought piece from Matteo Cellini. I hope that I make justice to the name. But he writes about that learning AI feels like a second job, and that's the real adoption problem. And he writes about something that many people, or at least the people that I know, and also I include myself in this, feel but rarely say out loud. And that is that learning AI is hard work and not fun extra learning when I have time to, but actual cognitive load. And he describes the pressure to stay updated, the constant stream of new tools and the sense that everyone else is moving faster. And I can so recognize myself, but also my clients in all of this. When I talk to clients, the general feeling is that everyone else is so fast and so far ahead, when in reality, no one really is. And I think it's relatable because, once again, this is what people tell me every week. They want to use AI, but the effort it takes is invisible almost, because you need to do heavy lifting and you need to make a conscious effort about it as well. And if this is true, and once again, I think to some extent it is, but if AI learning feels like a second job, people will just avoid it and adoption will stall. And the answer is not to push more tools, but once again, to make learning intentional. And I've been talking about this in my AI adoption series as well. It's small routines, it's clear expectations, it's less figure it out, and also more guided path. And I mean, I still enjoy experimenting and staying current with the latest AI trends, but the key here is to make a choice, not to have an endless chase where you're also just constantly trying to keep up with everything that's happening, because it's hard to keep up with everything that is happening. And even I, who spend most of my time on a daily basis to stay updated about all the things that is happening, I have a hard time staying up to date as well. Good thought piece and a lot of good advices in that article as well. And then last but absolutely not least, 1/3 of companies say they will replace HR with AI, and it's one final survey. I know this, and once again, you should really think about methodology here as well. I'll get back to that shortly. But this one is from a slightly different angle than the one that I mentioned earlier. And it's a survey from Resume Builder, and it's based on 1,250 business leaders. And it finds that 30% of companies say that they plan to replace some HR roles with AI in 2026. And another 21% say that they've already replaced at least some HR roles with AI this year. I am a bit torn on this one because the methodology is a bit vague, and I would like to know the current state of HR in these companies as well. Is it one person working in HR that they replaced? Is it two people? Is it a whole department? Is business leaders equal to CEO with a mandate? Or is it just leaders in an organization wishing that they would need less HR? And it's a bit unclear what's what here as well. But that said, this supports the claim that I've been doing for the last 2.5 years, that HR is not guaranteed to stay the same in all of this AI transformation that is happening. And we need to rethink and reposition ourselves to see where we provide value, which we always have had to do, but I think it's a bit more urgent right now. But once again, it's something that we always have had to do. And if you want to go back and read, I think the first piece that I wrote about this is almost 3 years old. And at the time, no one was talking about this. I will just state that. And I still think that some of the big HR AI influencers out there, they still drive the position forward that nothing will happen. And I so don't agree with that. Things will happen. And it's also interesting, I won't name, because I won't mention any names, but there are some major influencers in this area talking about that we're safe, nothing will happen. And at the same time, they talk about all the things that will happen. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. So bear that in mind. And the best thing we can do right now is educate ourselves, help each other out, and train and help our people to our best ability. And that's it for this week. And I'll catch you in the next one.